Hey guys, it's Vera Sweeney from I'm Not Obsessed, and I just got back from seeing Alita Battle Angel, and I wanted to do a really quick review. I even wrote notes because I have so much to say about this movie. But long story short, my kids and I went to go see the movie, and I actually really enjoyed it. It's subbed as an action movie, and that's exactly what you get. And so, I don't know what a lot of the people are saying online. I haven't really checked out what the comments are because it's really all about, our interpretation. And I went in looking for a really great Saturday afternoon with my kids, and that's exactly what I got. Before I get into anything else, I will tell you that I have no history with the series. I have no reference to the story prior to going in and watching the movie. So if you're somebody that is, a huge fan of the storyline and you're looking at the movie and you're saying, oh, they didn't do it that way, I'm not going to do that. So I cannot tell you that it wasn't done that particular way. I'm just going to tell you what I thought, spoiler free. I'm going to talk, number one, about visual. The visuals were actually confusing to me at times because the CGI is so good that I would be watching Alita and I would be sort of looking at her and going, okay, so this isn't real. Obviously, her eyes do not look like this. They're obviously adjusting her face, her body, but yet she's next to humans, real people, real actors. The mix between the CGI and the human reality versus, non-reality was so woven in completely and perfectly together that it was actually a little bit of a mind bend, let's say that word, for me, because I was watching it and it was so perfectly done. I don't know how else to say it. I haven't really seen a movie done quite so well in so long. I haven't seen a movie where I got lost in the visual as easily as I got lost in the visual with Alita. So for that reason alone, I think you should go and see this movie while it's still in the theater. I'm not somebody that pays a lot of money to go into the theater, to go see like just any old movie. If you're going to get me in the theater, it's to go see a really good CGI experience. And this movie will give you that. Number two, I want to say where the setting, so the setting where the whole story takes place, so Alita, there's sort of like two different areas where these people live. After, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but there's sort of like this really big war at one point. I think they reference it as like the fall, and between the fall there's a place that's sort of hovering over the mainland, like Zalem, and then everyone else where Alita is and her friends and all these people, they're living in the Iron City. So there's like a land above, and where we're seeing is the Iron City. And the Iron City was so detailed and it was so robust. The amount of time that went into creating this place for the story to grow and walk us through. Even that moment, like as we were going from one scene to the next, I was sort of admiring everything, and it was really sort of like a cross between, Total Recall, Colin Farrell's version, with certain moments in World of Warcraft, like certain scenes. I remember I used to play that game and I felt like there were certain moments that was like, it reminded me of those those points in that game, meets Japan, meets Indiana Jones. Like, I don't even know what. It was a really robust world that they have created for the story to take place. And I also love the fact that we don't even get an inkling of what Zalem or whatever, that world, that floating area, we don't even get an idea of what that looks like in this first movie. And to me, that mystery sort of really lends to the whole story, and of course it makes you really beg for the sequel. So again, it's right now I'm still all on the visual, but without even getting into the fighting sequences, I think you should already go see it right here. But let's get to the action. So this is an action movie. And they give it to you. I mean, there were certain scenes. I mean, forget about the motorball. I mean, the motorball fight, the motorball game that they have in the actual movie, it's sort of like roller derby times 1 billion. Those moments in itself, like you're sitting back and you're watching it and you're like, okay, this is amazing. But if you take those out and you actually take the fighting scenes, the action sequences that are happening with Alita They're so great. And she's so powerful. I mean, every single time she gets on the big screen, you know she's gonna annihilate. You're walking through these sequences and you're going, this is great. You almost want to rewind it. Like Netflix is like, see that again. I was in the theater and I was like, see that again. I just want to see that scene one more time. They really give you what they promise to give you. So, you know, it's the visuals and the action. I could just stop there and tell you to go see it. But the only thing that I thought was a little bit off-putting, because I don't want to make this sound like this is the best movie you're ever going to see, because I don't, you know, I don't want to like, I'm not going to be aggressive here. But the only thing that I thought was a little bit weird was they were trying to make it that like a human and a robot were going to go into like some sort of relationship. And that just doesn't really make logical sense if you understand what I'm saying here. Like, you know, they were trying to make this make us sort of get into the fact that a human and a robot are falling for each other, and I'm supposed to really be like rooting for this love that they're blooming. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, am I the only person that registers that this is a robot? That she has a robot body, that she is literally a robot. So how could I don't understand what's going on here. So I kind of was like, why are they doing that? But then again, like I said, I don't know anything about the backstory. I don't know if that's part of the backstory. Like, I don't know if that's like a big part of the backstory. But to me, I was sort of like, I wanted to erase that. Like, I wish none of that was part of the movie, because what? Like, that's just illogical. It's literally illogical. And I know you're probably saying, well, cyborgs are illogical, but are they? Are they? Because they're less illogical than a robot and a human falling in love and like making that work. What else do I have to say? I'm trying to see here. Oh, so the last thing that I wanted to say, that why I thought it was like something was a little bit missing. There is a little bit talking about a little group of people sort of like stealing parts from these cyborgs and selling them to try to get money, and that sort of felt like a little bit like human trafficking, and it felt like, you know, like selling organs, and they had that sort of dark side of the underbelly of society. So they kind of went into that just a little bit, but they didn't really touch upon the differences between the high society and low society beyond that. They didn't show anything more about, you know, the differences between the highs and the lows. Like, we don't really know anything else about what's going on up here. How can you get up there? You know, what's the divide? What causes the divide? There was no story about it. Really, there was a real big hole for me about that. Like, I just didn't understand. Like, and also there was a little talk about some people who got brought down, and I'm not going to tell you because this is a no spoiler, but they gave you like one sentence about it, and it really left you a little bit confused. Like, I just needed to know more about the highs and the lows and what that separation was about. So to me, I needed to know more about the society, like, because it's so supposedly rich and poor, but like, why? Like, how did this happen? What's the separation? How can we fix this? There's just no talk about that. And then the villain is just so absolutely mysterious, and I'm not going to tell you who the villain is. You'll see it when you see it. But you know, even him, like, you know, once you find out who the villain is, and, you know, I guess the puppet master, or however we want to call him, that was lacking for me too a little bit. Like the villain, the main guy, the main squeeze, or whoever he is, when we got to that part, and when as he played out throughout the whole entire movie, there was no fear on my end, and it was sort of just, you know, it wasn't enough for me. Like, the villain guy wasn't enough for me, and everything that was happening was on his hand. But to me, I was sort of like, I need a little more from that. But regardless, as I said earlier, the visuals and the fighting, I still think that you should see this in the theater, because it's that good. It's that good. It will still entertain you, even though it's lacking in other small areas. It's still worth the ticket for entry. So that's it. That's all I have to say about this. Alita, Battle Angel. Let me know what you think. If you saw it, leave a comment below. Bye.